Welcome back to Running Behind. I'm Joey Metzger, your host and head honcho of SLO. I don't even know how to say this, guys, but today I am joined by a very talented musician, last name Swift, who many know as Swifty. Yeah, that's right. Today I'm joined by the one, the only, Kevin Swifty Swift. I mean, that's who you thought I meant, right? Anyone remember the old days when you had to go to the library to find information? These days, a simple Google search or a look on YouTube and you can usually find it. I began posting videos on YouTube as a reference for folks to see races, courses, areas, and experiences, and to show family and friends what I was up to. Well, so did my guest, Kevin, aka Swifty, did not come to running until a little bit later in life, but once he did, he was hooked. The races became longer, the adventures became more involved. Eventually, he found himself on a quest to run races in all 50 states and with a YouTube channel to boot. We go through all of that and top it off with a Backyard Ultra 101 session where we're joined by Mario and Erik to answer all of his questions. So grab those Brooks, some sunscreen, and your camera, because it's time to hit the trail. After I saw you at Storm the Day, wasn't that year, it was the next year, I was running with my buddies Erik and Mario, and I was like, you know, my buddy Ben Mead had this great podcast, Chasing Cutoffs, for all of us slow folk at the back, and I'm sure there was other ones out there, but I was like, I really think we need more of that, more voices from the back of the pack, just regular folks trying to do these crazy things. You know, we've got all the elite athletes, they all have their podcasts and their fancy films. I'm like, yeah, we need more just the regular Joe at the back of the pack. And I've got all this recording equipment, and we're going to talk music. I spied on you today. We are going to talk bands and drums and all that shit. I can't wait to get into it. But so, I mean, you can see behind me, I've got musical instruments. They don't get played very much, but I've got all this recording equipment. And I was like, you know, I might as well do something with it. So I thought, I like the sound of my own voice. Let's start recording a podcast. So the problem is, Kevin, that my YouTube channel has suffered greatly, and we'll get into that. But okay, for my audience, I already started recording. My guest today is Kevin Swift. No relation to Jameson Swift, right?
That, as far as I know, that is true. Yes.
However, he does have the same nickname as a very popular singer, another musician, Taylor Swift. You go by Swifty sometimes, I understand, correct?
Yeah, quite a bit actually. I would say there's probably more people that know me as that than my first name, actually. So
really, when did that start, Kevin? When did they start calling you Swifty? Back when you were a kid?
Would think, yeah, as a kid, because my dad was, right, and then through high school and then college for sure. Most people just referred to me as Swifty. And then I think as more people get to know me, right? Because typically you call somebody by their first name, right? And you don't know a nickname. But mine's pretty easy, right? Because of the last name. So, but the more people get to know me, the more the name Swifty comes out. And there's a lot of people that refer to me as that. And now my kids are all that, right? And so having 3 girls, they have all gone through the Taylor Swift reference, right? So, and one of my daughter's name is Tegan, so she actually is T Swift.
Oh God. Oh God. Now, is that a good thing for her? Is that a bad thing, or?
We have fun with it. Yeah. She kind of plays off it a little bit. She's got fun stories where, I'll tell you one story. It's kind of funny. So she was telling me during COVID, you bring up COVID, right? Every time you had to order, like from a restaurant, it was all, you had to put the order in ahead of time, right? And then you go pick it up and, the whole thing, right? So she went to Panera Bread, and the way they designate your order is by first initial, last name, right?
Yeah.
And so she puts the order in and drives down. And she said when she got there, the employees were all lined up at the window, and the manager took her food, and she gets out of her little car, right? And the guy, he says, we pretty much knew it wasn't, right?
Yeah.
But you never know. And she, of course, got a chuckle out of it. But that is,
That
it's a funny story. Yeah.
that is awesome. I, you know, I've always known who Taylor Swift is, and I kind of like her music. My wife's a huge fan, and we
Yep.
watched. I did get to be a bigger fan this year. We watched the documentary she did on her Eras tour, and you're a musician, so you can appreciate like the
Yep.
size and scope of that tour, and then the fact that she's able to kind of remain a normal person and do all this songwriting. I really kind of admired her. I was like, I think I'm kind of a fan now. I'm a fan. So
I
yeah.
am too, and I know a lot of people aren't, and I think more people aren't because of her success, right? Which is
Yeah.
not fair, right?
Yeah.
But because a lot of people say, "Oh, she might not be, the greatest singer in the world." I think she's very talented. I
Yeah.
think she's an amazing songwriter, and one of the things that I admire her for is what she's done to the recording industry, right? She kind of has flipped it on its
Yes.
head, right?
Yes.
And made it very more artist friendly, where it used
Yeah.
to be very what like producer friendly
Yes.
or record label friendly. So
Yep.
she's done some great things that way, yeah, and I admire
Com-
that.
Completely agree. Completely, absolutely agree. So we kind of jumped the gun a little bit here, Swifty. The way I start these things, if you listen to a couple episodes, is I like to do these one word answers. And so I'm going to do the same thing for you, Kevin. Give me one word, Kevin, as a person.
I would say as a person, just in general, as a person, I would say, let's go with maybe generous. How's that?
Generous. Oh, very
Yeah,
nice. I like it.
yeah, yeah.
Now, I'm going to give you two more.
Okay.
I could give you a whole bunch because you're a musician too. One word is Kevin the Runner. Kevin the Runner. One word to describe yourself as Kevin the Runner.
I would say as a runner, I think more um, adventurous,
Oh, I like
willing to
that.
kind of step outside
Yeah,
the normal
nice.
type of running. Yeah, yeah.
And I'm going to throw, I could have done a musical one, but I thought we're going to talk filmmaking. We're both YouTube channel, creators. So give me one word as Kevin, the filmmaker, the YouTube channel creative artist. One word to describe yourself in that avenue.
Um, how about um, boy, that's a great one. Let's see. Let's go with um, hmm.
There's no wrong answers. It's
I
whatever
know I got to think
comes
of a
to the
good
top
one
of your
though.
head.
I was kind of thinking experimental is
Okay.
because it's so new. So I think
Yeah.
I'll probably go with that. That was the first word on top of my
Yeah.
head because it's
That
so new to me. So let's go with that.
great. Love it. Love it. There's no right or wrong answers there. It's just I think it's always intriguing. I know it must have happened at work one time. We were in a big meeting and that's kind of what they did. They went around the room and I forget what the question was. It was a one word answer. And I thought, oh, that's kind of interesting. I'm going to ask people that when I start this, very successful podcast that I have. Uh,
Yes,
so
very.
the way I like to start these is I kind of like to go back to people's youth. I was not athletic at all as a kid. I was into nerdy things. I was into band, debates, speech, theater, music. Nothing athletic. My dad wasn't athletic. Mom, sisters, they didn't do really much for any sports. What was your youth like? Because this is all leading up to how we get into running and the trail running and stuff. What was your youth like, Kevin? Did you grow up in Wisconsin? And did you do a lot of athletics growing up?
Yeah, no,
What
I
was that
grew
like?
up. Yeah, great question. I grew up in a small town in Minnesota, southern Minnesota, Waterville, Minnesota. It's down by the Mankato area, if you know where Mankato
Yep.
is. So
Yep.
small little town, and so in a small town, and I don't know, the size of the town you grew up in, but in a small town, everybody does everything, right? The football, you like in the morning, you might go in and
Yeah.
do show choir, right, at 6 o'clock before school starts, and then you go through class, and then after school, then you go out to football practice, right?
Yeah.
And everybody crosses over everything, right? And so I like to think that that helped form me, right, as a
Yeah.
person, because I got a chance to do everything. I was in, the one act play, I was in the school play, I was in football, baseball, basketball, church youth groups, right? So I think and my folks were were really open to that, right? They didn't push me one way or the other, which I appreciate, right? They kind of let us be who we wanted to be. And I wouldn't say like I was like a great athlete, but I enjoyed participating, right? And learned a lot in terms of like team sports, right? You learn, I think. So I'm part of the Booster Club here in Chippewa Falls, which advocates being part of some sort of organization, right? I've been doing it, I don't know, 10 to 15 years now. And I think that is so critical in growing up, right? And so having that team mentality, that team focus, whether it was in a play or whether it was, at baseball practice and in a game and preparation and all that kind of stuff, I think all of those things helped mold me to where I am today. That would be my thought anyway. Yeah.
That's such a great point. Small towns, small communities. I grew up in Minot, North Dakota, which isn't a terribly small town. It's 30,000, I think, with the Air Force Base there. But my first experience at school was a Catholic school. I went to the Catholic grade school, and in 8th grade, there was a total of 10 people in my class. After 8th grade, I was allowed to go to the public school, and I was like, thank God, because there was so much more to do. But it did teach me a lot where I didn't do a lot of the sports things. I think I've said I played a little basketball. I was horrible. Was not good at it. But Kevin, we did everything at that little Catholic school. I learned how to do, physics and the science and mathematics. And I thought I got a really good education, prepared me well for high school. And then in high school, when I had all these other fun things to do, band and speech and debate. And I did do track for 1 year. I was so horrible at it. But that's so interesting about small communities and how they really shape us. You're good folk. That's that Midwest mentality, right? You come from small towns. You're good folk. So when do you pick up running? Is that as a kid or is that after high school later? When do you start running as kind of a hobby? Or tell me the history of when you got into running.
Man, I hated running. Like I hated it. Like it was awful. It's a lot of work and not a lot of reward. So in high school, like I did baseball instead of track because you just got to run around the bases and maybe shake some fly balls, right? Yeah. So I'm like, screw that. I ain't running, right? And basketball is just up and down the court, right? Football, you only run if you have to. So so I avoided all the track stuff. I despised it.
Yeah.
And then I tried it in college, and I thought, I'll go for a run one day. And again, it's like, whew. That's a lot of work. I could be home doing nothing instead of this, right? Which seems better. Yeah. So where I started I didn't start running until probably 10, 12 years ago, maybe at the most, something like that. Yeah. My girls were all in track in high school. So my oldest was in hurdles. My middle one did like mid distance and cross country. And then my youngest did pole vault. So I was involved in the track program in Chippewa for, God, I'd probably say 10, 12 years, right? Yeah. While the girls were going through that. And so being divorced myself, right? And I knew that as the girls grew older, I needed some kind of a hobby, right? To stay busy. And this was even before I was playing music a lot. And I thought, I met so many people through the running community, kind of like we are now, right? Only locally, and just got to understand that, I can slap on a pair of shoes and this might be something I can do, right? And so I remember the first day I went out and we had a Weimaraner Lab mix. So she's a big, healthy, fit dog,
athletic, right? Probably.
Athletic.
Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
So I thought, I'll take her out for a run with me. And Oh my God, Joey. I don't think I made it a quarter mile, and I thought my lungs were going to burn out of my chest and I was going to pass out.
Oh no.
Like, this still
Yeah.
sucks, right? Even after all
Yeah.
these years, it's not
Yep.
gotten better.
Yeah, I
But
know.
then I decided to, I'm like, okay, well, let's try it again. So I decided to kind of do what I think a lot of people do, right? Like, I went out and just started walking, and then maybe I would jog a little bit.
Yeah.
And then, and I've heard a lot of people, tell stories similar to this, that eventually I was jogging more than running, or walking, I should say, and then pretty soon I'm running, and then that progressed from there. So yeah, it's a fairly recent hobby, I guess, for me.
Yep.
In relativity. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you start running. How long? And I'll get to. And I know you've done some longer races.
Mm-hmm.
When you start running, when do you do like your first 5K? Is that within the first year of taking up the hobby that you attempt a 5K or a race of some distance? And we're going to get to your what was it, Run for 50? Your whole thing. Got a lot of questions on that. But when do you first do a race, Kevin, that you were like, okay, I'm running, I'm gonna try to do a 5K or something?
Yeah. So I went to University of Minnesota Morris for college, right, which is out in western Minnesota. You probably know exactly where that's at.
Oh yeah.
But I had not been back there since I graduated, right? And so shortly after I started running, probably within a couple years, I would say, I thought, well, it'd be kind of fun to go back to homecoming. And I haven't been back before because they had a 5K. And I thought, man, here's something I can train for. Yeah. And I can go back to my college and see all the pals and see this, the whole thing, right? And it's a small school, so it's the whole small thing again, right?
Yeah.
And I thought, well, that's a perfect chance for me to kind of do my first 5K at my alma mater. Yeah. And I thought, okay, let's give it a shot. So that's what I did. I trained for that, and I went to Morris, and I ran my first 5K. And I'll tell you, I don't know what your experience is when you first did your first race, but I thought I had won freaking Boston. Dude, it was like people were cheering for me, right? Yeah. They don't know me from Adam. I'm nobody from Nowheresville, right? Yeah. And people are cheering and high-fiving, and I got a medal, and I'm like, what? Why didn't anybody tell me this before? This is amazing, right? And it was, so I was hooked. Like from there, I was hooked. And it was like, okay, this is cool. This is cool.
Yeah, there is something special about that. I remember my first race, first 5K, I wasn't even really running regularly. My now wife, at the time girlfriend, I was managing facilities for a company, and she was managing the fitness center, and she had a run club there that she had organized with some of my coworkers, and they were all great marathon runners, and I would just be like, whatever, I do my mile on the treadmill, lift my weights, but she convinced me to do this 5K with everybody else from the company. And of course they all left me in the dust, but I got done. I had the same thing as you. I was like, well, that was slow as shit, but I had a great time, and I got a medal, and I was like, okay. And then I kind of dropped it for a while, and it was a few years. I think it was my early 50s before I actually started doing consistent mileage every day. So I've really only been doing it, 7 years or so. But yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? You get done with that race, and it's like, no matter how fast or slow you are, there's just something about it that's like so rewarding in the support. And so you do the 5K, and then are you like, a lot of us, this is like a drug. It's like, oh God, I need more. I need longer. I need more. When do you build up to like a 10K, or what came next after the 5K, Kevin?
So interestingly enough, after that, I was hooked, to your point, and part of it, I think, is that like that runner's high, which they talk about, right? And it comes like at some point in your race, maybe it's typically for me like the last probably 10, 20 seconds, because I'm giving her all I got, whatever's left, right? And it's just the endorphins are just, shooting through your brain, right? And you're thinking, man, this is it. This is the best. Yeah. So I was kind of hooked after that. And I thought, I just kind of keep doing 5Ks because I'm thinking to myself, never in my life would I ever thought I would do a 5K. And after that, I thought there's still no way I could do anything longer than that. That took everything I could, right? That was everything I could give, right?
Yeah.
So
the human body cannot run farther than 3.1 miles. It's just not physically possible. That's the feeling I had.
Exactly. That's as far as I could go. So like next spring, so this would have been in the fall because it was homecoming, right? So like October. So the next spring, a buddy of mine who I used to work with called me up and said, "Hey, I'm a person short to run a Ragnar. Would you be willing to come with us?" And I'm like, what is that? And B, like, how much do I gotta run? And he kind of, and have you done a Ragnar? Are you familiar with Ragnar?
I'm familiar with them. I've never done one.
Okay.
How did he explain it to you? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
What did he tell you?
So he says it's a couple days. We're running from Madison, Wisconsin to Chicago, Illinois.
Oh, God.
And it's a big relay, and you only have to run 3 times, and you get a big break in between. I'm like, that's not too bad, I guess, whatever. Well, what he didn't explain is that the first leg I have to run is like 4.5 miles, which I've never run before. The second leg is 6.2 miles, which I certainly was twice as long as I've ever run before. Then the last leg is 3.1 miles, right? And he didn't tell me, A, you don't sleep, B, you don't really eat very well, and you're pretty much up the entire like 30 hours. And so I'm like, okay, I'm in, whatever. And that's what hooked me, and I'm glad I did it, because that's what hooked me for some of these crazy, weird things I've done. And you've seen some of the things, right? The David Goggins challenge, and considering doing the big backyard and some of the ultra stuff. I'm like, man, if I can do that, I can try at least to do some of these other weird things, right? And that hooked me right there. That was my thing, and I'm so glad I did it, because it was like, so in like all seriousness, right? And I've said this to other people, because people have said, I don't know how you do what you do, right? And I'm thinking, what I tell them is that you can do more than you think you can do. Yeah. You truly can, right? To my point, to you, what you and I just said, nobody can run 3.1 miles more than that, but you can, amazingly enough, right? You and I have proven that.
Yeah.
And so doing this Ragnar, while it was incredibly difficult, and it pushed me to limits further than I ever had before, it showed me that while I may not be the most physically fit person in the world, I can still do something I never thought I could do, right? And that was my next thing. And then after that came 10Ks and some of the other stuff. So
yeah. Cool. Is it before you do your first half marathon? Is that like a year later, 2 years later?
About that, yeah. And that was in Mankato. I did my first half marathon. Yep. And that was such a beautiful course. You start up at the campus and you work yourself downtown through Sibley Park. Oh, it's just gorgeous. And my family was there, my folks, some of my kids. It was just, it was cool. It was really cool.
When you get done with the half marathon, do you go, oh, shoot, I could do a marathon?
Yes.
I had the exact opposite. When I got done with mine, I was like, because my wife that I married, she's, in her day, she was twice a Boston qualifier. She was pretty stud and marathoner. And I got done with that half marathon, Kevin, and I was like, the human body cannot run 26.2 miles. So you got done and you were like, oh yeah, I got it. I can do a marathon.
I felt so good, Joey. Like, I really felt good. And I worked hard, and I was exhausted and I was sore, but I'm like, I got to try it, right? I didn't think I could run a 5K, and then I ran a 10K, and now I've done a half a marathon. I got to try running a full. And so that's...
Tell me the story of that point to running your first full marathon. What is the training like? What is the marathon? Tell me that story of how that happens.
Interestingly enough, I had scheduled myself to run a marathon. Would have been, gosh, I'm trying to think now. Would have been fall of 2019. And for whatever reason, I think I had some, like, I don't know, I had a setback in terms of like a minor injury, a knee thing, or whatever it was. And I was out like 4 to 6 weeks. And the recovery put me so close to the time frame of the start of the race. I wasn't confident enough that I thought I could do it, right? So I'm like, I don't want to risk a greater injury, right? So what I decided to do then is I thought, well, I'll just do one in the spring of 2020. Well, 2020, COVID happens, right? So that happened. So then I started doing, and if you remember, there was a lot of companies that did a lot of these virtual races, right? And so I signed up for a lot of those and got back into training. And so I made up my own marathon course back in Waterville, Minnesota, like, because nobody was doing anything. And so my parents, my sister, and my nephew, what we did is, so I made up this course, 26.2 miles, and it's all pretty much country because it's small town USA, right? And we drove the night before and said, okay, this is going to be a stop. It was about every 3 to 4 miles. This will be a stop, so I need you to be here, right? And they had a van, and so they had all the supplies in the van, like, like all my nutrition, all my hydration, change of clothes if I needed, change of shoes if I needed, because I didn't know what to expect, because I was out on my own, right, in the middle of the country.
Right.
So we had all of these stops planned. Yeah. And that was my marathon. And that was my first and to this date only marathon that I've truly run. So it's a great memorable experience.
Yeah. That is crazy. But at least you knew enough to know. A lot of people run their first marathon and they're like, I don't know, just drink some water. I mean, you at least had a plan. You knew enough to know I'm going to need some resources here and here and here, and had a crew and a family to support you. That's really cool. So that's your one and only marathon. I have still not run an official marathon. I did a marathon distance at our favorite race, the Fire Tower 50K, which we'll talk about. So you do the marathon, and then do you start trail running? Was trail running always been a part of your running, or was that something at some point that you discovered that you could do not just on the roads, but you could also run on trails? And I know you do both. You run on paved courses as well as trail courses, but obviously you've done some trail races. When did you discover that, Kevin?
I'm trying to think back to, now that you mention it, I'm trying to think if the Fire Tower was my first one, or if it was my second. But it was one of those things where it was kind of during COVID, and I sort of kind of got burned out on running on the road because I live in the country, right? So I don't really have a great trail system to run on. It's all country roads, right? And I can weasel my way over to a state trail. It used to be a railroad trail, so they've kind of paved it. But I'm like, I'm just kind of getting tired of this. And I have there's some nice trails and some woods out here. And I thought, why not, right? It's there. And so I started doing that, and I'm like, this is kind of cool, right? The one thing I noticed was my times were slower, because obviously there's hills and there's tree roots and there's rocks and there's all these other ridiculous things which you don't have in the middle of a road or a trail. But it's certainly much more entertaining because the scenery always changes, right? And it's just a different experience. And I'm like, boy, I don't know if I do this all the time, but I love the balance of having, I can go out and run trails, or I can go out and run the road. And it just offers a little bit different, and I'm preaching to the choir, right? It just offers a little bit different feel for me on running. And it's something else to think, right? Because you need different shoes. Theoretically, you probably should, right? Yeah. It's a little bit different training method. And I thought, boy, this is a nice change of pace so I don't get burnt out running the same old thing over and over again. So, yeah.
And I like it because I don't have to be embarrassed when I need to do some walking because I can pretend like I'm going up a hill.
Exactly.
But it does allow for that. And I've told my wife this too. And, on the trails, you do a lot of walking. There's a lot of hills. There's a lot of hiking. There's roots. There's trees. There's terrain issues. And so you end up walking, and it's such a relief for your body and for your knees and your joints to do a combination of running and walking. It's so much better for you. So I do like that aspect of it. So you start trail running in 2022. You do the Fire Tower 50K. That's how I got to know you, because it's either the next year I think I did it. We're going to talk about filmmaking YouTube after we talk about your Run the 50. But I saw your film of you running the Fire Tower 50K, and that's how I was like, oh, that was a cool film. That guy's cool. That was his first 50K. That was my first, and still to date, only successfully completed 50K. Awesome. That's all. Awesome. I'm knocking on wood. That's all going to change this year, Kevin. But
good for you. It's great. It's great.
So I had Jameson on the podcast. I know you've listened to that. What a great guy. I'm like, I want to have a beer with him and his wife, Lisa. They're just great people. Tell me about that experience. So you decide to do 50K. What prompted that? What made you choose the Fire Tower 50K? And then talk about your day up there at St. Croix State Park, how that went.
Yeah, awesome. So one of the things that prompted me to try the 50K was over COVID again. I started doing some of these weird challenges, right? Like I did a mock big backyard, right? I set up a little course down by my house, and I went out and it was 3 miles. So I did 3 miles every hour on the hour for a while, right? I filmed that and I thought I'd try it. I had a buddy that said, hey, you should do the David Goggins challenge. And I'm like, what is that? Right? And I didn't even know who this guy was. So he's crazy.
Did you stay hard?
I stayed pretty tired. I say that. But I did it, right? I actually completed the David Goggins challenge, which was, to this date, I would say that's my most physically and mentally demanding challenge I've ever done. And
for those that don't know, Kevin, give a brief description of what the David Goggins challenge is.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's
great point. So what the David Goggins challenge is you run 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours for a total of 48 miles. And it's ridiculously hard because you think, oh, I'm going to have time to take a little nap and have some, but you don't, right? Your sleep deprivation is brutal, and it just catches up to you. And then you still have to run 4 miles, and then you have to find time to eat and everything else. And it is very, very challenging. But I did it, and I was so proud of myself. Yeah, so I did a video on that, so whatever. But so what led to the 50K then was I started doing all these challenges, and I'm like, oh, I should try a 50K, right? I don't know why I thought that, but I thought, let's try it. And I did some searching, and of course, where I live in Chippewa Falls, I wanted to try and find something fairly close where I'm not overnighting or doing some crazy stuff for multiple nights, because I know it's going to be taxing, right? And so the Fire Tower Trail is up in Hinckley, Minnesota, and it's maybe an hour and 45 minutes from where I live. So it's somewhere where I can go that's fairly close, and I could get home that day. Plus, from what I understood at the time, it wasn't like, it didn't have a lot of huge elevation gain. Right? Yeah. Because I certainly, and you're a Minnesota guy, we don't have a lot of elevation where we live, right? It's pretty much flat. So I'm like, I don't want to be climbing, 10,000 feet to do my first. So this just kind of fit the bill I was looking for. And it was in the fall. Yeah. So weather typically is pretty good for the most part, right? And so that was my go-to for my first 50K, and stayed the night in Hinckley, drove over to the race site in the morning, and dude, it was, well, you've done it, so know it is an amazing course. Yes. It's so well done.
Yep.
All the supporters, the aid stations, all the volunteers, it's premier. And if anybody's looking to do their first 50K, I actually had another friend, to your point, did their first 50K over there as well.
Yeah.
So it's just a great event. And so that's kind of what led up to it. I started doing all these challenges, thought of a 50K, and that just fit what I was looking to do perfectly. So. Yeah.
And your day up there went, I mean, I'll have a link to your YouTube channel. People can go watch your video where you wonderfully describe the course and your day and how you're feeling. And I think your first half was going pretty well. And then you had some little niggles and things. You had to slow down a little bit. You still had a pretty good time. I don't get stuck on times because I take forever to finish stuff. I usually come in last. But I know it was under 8 hours. Was it under 7 hours?
It was under 7 hours. Yeah.
Wow, so, Kevin, that's so fast.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I did. The first, I think 18 miles was really, really good. I felt good. You climb the tower, which is crazy. You climb this tower, which is called Fire Tower Trail. Yeah. But I did. I felt so good, and the day was great. And then, as you pointed out, I had just I had this weird knee thing, and I've had it looked at a couple times. They think it might be a minor IT band thing, but I can't, when it pops up, I can't run like a full run extension of my legs, but I can power walk. So I don't know. Yeah. And it's hard to describe what it's like when it's not hurting to like a PT person, right? And so it's hard to figure it out, but that's what happened. Yeah, and it's happened one other time too at another event that I did up in the Twin Cities, a very similar a trail run I did, a 6 hour. And so that's what happened. But I was able to power walk through there and do small little jogs periodically, and I was so happy I did it. I was going for under 7 hours, and I got it. So I was pretty pleased with that. Yeah, but
great job.
But thank you. But the trail, the course, I thought it was great and met some great people out there. Jameson is amazing. He's so supportive and encouraging, and what he does for his events is just top notch. Yeah. So
the way he and Lisa have really promoted, I think they've got to be the best in the country at promoting women to do the 50K. And I didn't get to see the film. It was sold out. He talked about it. And I know last year they made a film about the whole program they're doing up there with all the women. And really inspiring.
Is that something you can watch on YouTube or something? Do you know?
Eventually, I think so. Okay. I'm going to reach out to Jameson and see. It was produced by a group called the Pickle Project, and I forget the director-producer's name, Mike Berg or Rick Berg or somebody, but they had a premiere at Main Cinema down in Minneapolis last week. I couldn't go, but really, really, I just love that course. And if I would like to try to do the 100K probably up there because it's flat.
That's what I'm thinking too.
So well run. It's on my list. So is that your only 50K, or what other race have you done that was 50K? You did Storm of the Day and you got over 50 kilometers in that race, right?
Yeah. So I did the 50. So I did the Storm of the Day, and that's where I met you, right? Yep. Down at was it down in Winona? No.
Down in Winona. Yep. That's Bill and Mandy Hansel, Storm Sporting Events does that. Yeah.
Another great. Oh my gosh, those guys did that course and how they set that up, Joey. I was so impressed. Gosh, the trail was beautiful. The setup was great. I was just
Yep.
blown away. And I know they have a number of different events, which I think could be fun to participate in. I don't know if you've done some of the other ones or not, but
I've done Storm of the Park, and I'm actually Erik and Mario, who you're going to meet here in a little bit.
cool.
All three of us are going down there in 2 weeks to do Storm of the Park, and we're going to record a podcast down there.
Oh, wow,
But Bill and
that's
Mandy,
awesome.
yeah, Bill and Mandy are first rate people,
Yeah.
and their events are like Jameson's, just first class. You can't get better.
Yeah, so I did Storm the Day, and I did, which is theoretically called like sun up to sundown or sunrise to sunset or something like that, right? And I ended up with 43 miles, which I got fourth place. Yeah, thank you. That was pretty cool. I was pretty pleased with myself. So that's the most I've done in one day. Okay. And then I did another one up in the Twin Cities at Theodore Wirth State Park. It's called the Loop It Lop It.
Okay.
And it was a 6-hour race. They had a 6 and a 12.
Yeah.
I chose the 6 because I hadn't, quite felt prepared to do 12 hours. And I did 27 miles or something like that in that 6 hours, somewhere in there. So those are the 3 long runs that I've done. Yes.
3 ultra marathons you've done.
3
That's
ultras,
awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Okay, I want to get to, and we'll get to the filmmaking. I want to get to your quest. It's so cool, and I know you started talking about it and on your YouTube channel. You have a quest to, and I'll let you describe it, to run, and I think you even have a name for it, to run a certain distance in all 50 states. Tell me about your quest, Kevin.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, super fun. So I have a quest to do a 10K or greater in all 50 states. And that has since been modified this year. So my new quest now is to do a 5K, 10K, and half marathon in all 50 states. Yeah.
Oh, God.
So we're going to modify it just a little bit.
All right. Yeah. Raising the stakes.
Raising the stakes. Yep. And a couple reasons for that. So the races that I do in these various states are through a company called Mainly Marathons. They're out of St. Cloud, Minnesota. So a local company for you and I. And what they do, so for those of you who are used to running like half marathons or 10Ks, whatever, on the weekends, right? You go to Eau Claire, Twin Cities, whatever, and they do one big event and you go do that, right? Well, to try and do that to get all 50 states would literally take you forever, right? Because you got to go to one state, do one race, and that's it. So what Mainly Marathons does is they've been doing this, and I'm not even going to guess the amount of years because I'd be wrong, but let's just say 10 plus years. They have courses set up in all 50 states, and what they do is they block off like a state trail, for instance, right? And they'll go to some typically smaller town, and everybody converges on that town, and they set up a course. It's an out and back course, right? And then you go complete your distance, whatever that is that you're going to do, right? And so what they'll do then is they'll do that, but they'll have 5, 6, 7 states set up all in 1 week. So like this last one, which you referred to earlier, that I just got back from on Friday or last week, was the Appalachian series. So we started in Alabama, and then we went to Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, and West Virginia. And we did, and then you just pick whatever mileage you're going to do in all of those, right? So yeah, and then you just go one to the other. You'll race, you get in your car, go to the next state. You get up in the morning, you race, get in your car, go to the next state, right? So it's crazy, and yeah, it's really
okay.
cool.
So watching your videos, I was like, so you have to drive yourself to the next race. How far are you driving, Kevin, in between these races? Is it hundreds of miles? What's the typical mileage in between them?
Yeah, it could be like the first, like when we went from Alabama to Georgia, I think it was like 3.5 hours. And then Georgia to South Carolina, I think was 3 hours. And then like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And then we happened to get lucky. So when we did Virginia and West Virginia, this town, Bluefield, West Virginia, lies on the border of Virginia and West Virginia. So right, so we got to stay in one city for 2 days, and we one day went here, one day went there, and you got to do exactly, yeah.
Nice.
So it kind of depends, you get lucky and get things like that where it might be just across the border, and they typically, like, if you would look at their races, no matter where you're at in the country, they do tend to follow like the borders, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Right. Which makes sense, so that you can try and get to each one, as easily as you can. So the really cool thing about it is because they don't go to some of the bigger cities, like, let's just say Charleston or some of these other, Atlantas or whatever. You go to these small little towns, and these are places you would never go to. Like, if you're on vacation, you would never go to Seneca, South Carolina, ever, for any reason, right? And that's not a shot on Seneca. That's just reality land, right? Because when you're on vacation, you want to go see all the hot spots, right? This place cool, that place cool. And not that Seneca's not cool, but it's just not like, that's not a tourist place, right? But what's cool about it is we meet like these local folks. There's like 200 or 300 people that converge on their little town. And we go eat at the diner. We have coffee at the little coffee shop. We visit the locals while we're walking around town, because I always try and sightsee, right? And it's just this really cool experience above and beyond the fact that I get to race in all these different states. So I really thoroughly enjoy that. It's exhausting, but it's really fun. Yeah.
I wrote down a couple of questions from these mainly marathon events. So it sounds like from the videos, you see a lot of the same people. So you're making some friends, seeing some familiar faces, right?
Yeah. A lot of the same people. Yeah.
And then how many miles, like, on average in a week when you do, and I don't know, I think some of them you did half marathons, some you did 10Ks.
Yep.
Can you do a full marathon too, or what's like the time limit for these events for people?
So that's the beautiful thing with Mainly, is they don't have a time limit. So there's two brothers that run it, and like, depending on, like, at certain time of the day, one of them will leave and go to the next state to set up, while one stays behind to let people finish. And if you saw through the videos, there's a lot of people that walk, and a lot of them, honestly, Joey, they'll power walk, or they'll walk a full marathon, right? So it could take them 7 hours, and they just call it no one's left behind, right? No, they stay until the last person crosses the finish line. And there's people that go out and do 50Ks. Like, there was 3 people this last week, that did a 50K every day. Every day.
What?
Yes.
Oh my God.
There was a gentleman, and I should look him up. Billy, he's an ex-Marine. Anyway, he's raising money for, I'm trying to remember now. I got a picture. He's super good dude, but he's raising for money, I think, for veterans awareness, right? And suicide awareness and stuff like that. And he had a 35-pound pack on his rucksack on his back, carrying the American flag, doing a 50K every single day.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, man. So again, I kind of harken back to, like I mentioned earlier, like, I've had a lot of friends and family, for sure, will say, gosh, Kev, that's so cool what you do, and there's no way I could do it. And I think back to, and I've told these people on the race courses, you guys are my inspiration, right? Because some of these people, Joey, like, I should get you in contact with some of these people. So, for instance, and I know we're kind of getting short on time, but
no, we're fine.
So there's a gentleman by the name of Jim Simpson, right?
Yeah. And
he has done, I want to say in the next couple weeks, he'll complete his 2,500th marathon. 2,500 marathons.
Oh my God.
Right? And he's 83, 84, whatever.
Yeah.
And he's out there trucking around the United States, keeping on, right? And so I think I've done one marathon and a couple of ultras, right? Mm-hmm. This guy's done 2,500 almost. And there's another gentleman, Henry Rudin. He's from Green Bay area. He's done like 2,200. Angela Tortosi, she is the world record holder for most half marathons. She's on all of these things. So there's people out there, and I think Jim is number 1 in the United States, number 5 in the world in most marathons, right? So these are the people that are out doing these things that I get to see, right? And it's like, man, I'm trucking around doing a 10K, and this guy's going 7 hours doing a marathon. I'm like, geez, Louise, man, crazy. It's so incredible, the athletes that you meet, and you just don't realize, what some of the accomplishments of these people have done. But it's incredible. It's just incredible. Yeah, you would love it, dude. I'm telling you, this is something you would love. 100% love it. You really
I love
would.
exploring. I like little towns. I know my wife, she likes the big towns. That's all great. I love them too. But I'm kind of like you. I've got that adventurous, exploratory gene in me where I like to just check out things. So I probably would. So do you think, Kevin, you'll probably use mainly marathons to complete your quest of all 50 states? Or will you... Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, finish. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, will it be mainly marathons, or will you do some other mechanism to complete all 50 states?
Yeah, I may use another mechanism, but it's just so easy with mainly, right? They set everything up for me, right? For us, and it's not just me, of course, but they just it's so well run, and talk about, and that's why I think you should do one just to do one, right? And they have a series that comes up through Minnesota. There's a number of races that are in Minnesota. So if you go to their website and see, but you really should, because the setup is second to none. And we talk about Jameson and his team, and these guys are top notch, and they're good dudes. They do it right. The food, the amount of food and drink you have at the aid station is like crazy. Like, it's so good. The bling is great. And it's just so easy, right? To your point, yes, we have to drive from state to state. I get it. But when you get there, you show up in the morning, it's so well organized that you just show up and do your thing and go to the next one. And so, now that I've done, because when I first started the 50 quest, I started to do them on my own. Like, if you remember some of my early videos, I literally just found a race somewhere and showed up. And that's fun too, but this just is just so, you can knock so many out in a short time, and it's just more convenient. Yeah.
Awesome. Before I ask you about the filmmaking, I know the guys will join here in a little bit. How many states have you run so far? At least one race. I know you've upped the ante. You've got all 3 you're going to do, but how many states, Kevin, have you run at least one of your distances in?
I just counted tonight because I figured you were going to ask me. So I'm at 32. So I do have a little ways to go. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that.
Your
homework assignment when we're done tonight, Kevin, is to go back and find the episode with David Shannon. I interviewed him last year. He's the guy that runs Fans Ultra, which is, I highly recommend you do. You could do 6, 12, or 24 hours, and it runs around a little 2-mile loop around Normandale Lake down in Bloomington, Minnesota, down here in the cities. Great event, great food. David does a great job with that. But yeah, he's done 70 or 80 marathons and one in every state. And so, he's
crazy.
Yeah. I so admire you guys for these crazy quests. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the YouTube channel before the guys join. When did you start your YouTube channel? When did you start filming? How did all that come about? Tell me how you got started filmmaking and filming these adventures.
Yeah. So it started when I started to run the 50 quest. Because I talked to my girls about what I wanted to do, right? And, they're, like I said, it's just me, right? And so they're all grown, and they worry about their dad, God bless them, right? I'm sure I worry more about them, but it's nice that they have, nice that they worry about me a little bit. And so their idea was that, this sounds super cool. You should do like a little video thing with it so we can kind of follow along with you, right? And see where you go, what you do, your experiences, all that stuff. And I'm thinking, that's dumb. Like, who? Like, what? I don't even know like what to do. Like, I'm not. How do you sit and talk to that, right?
Yeah.
So, because that's what I use. I just use my iPhone. I know you use GoPro and stuff, but so I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I'm like, whatever. So what I did is I didn't totally poo-poo it, right? I'm like, so I tried some local races first, and then just walked around the area trying to film myself and saying dumb things, which I do say sometimes, and to try and get a hang of it, right? And I'm like, I don't know. And then I told them, I said, yeah. And then they said, do it on YouTube. And I'm like, oh my God. I said, I'm nobody from Nowheresville. Nobody's going to watch this. Yeah. And they said, well, you'd be surprised, which I still am surprised and shocked every day. And I appreciate you, Joey, and everybody else. But then they said, but then that allows us to watch, and it's there forever. Show the grandkids, whoever, friends, family, my mom and dad, everybody. I'm like, fine, okay, whatever, I'll try it. And so I tried it, and now I gotta say, it's kind of cool, right? Because I feel like I'm talking to somebody, and that's my mentality when I film, right? I feel like I pick somebody, like talk to the girls or talk to a friend or whatever, right? And I kind of enjoy it now, if I'm being completely honest. I don't know how you feel. Sometimes it's goofy and awkward still, but it's still kind of cool in a way.
Yeah. Your stuff is great, Kevin. It's so natural, and it is. It's just like you're talking to us. And for me, I mean, I'm an actor at heart, so I'm just a frickin' ham. I'll talk to a log.
You do a great job too, by the way.
But your stuff comes across so natural and just easygoing, and I love when you're doing these 7 days, you're exploring different parts of that. And for me, I started making these films because I enjoyed them so much. I enjoyed yours, the Fire Tower race, because before I do a race, I was always like, oh, I'm going to go out to YouTube. YouTube, like, how did we repair cars and learn musical songs before YouTube? We didn't. We obviously didn't. Those of us who are old enough, like you and I, we remember things like the library and, things like that. But
card catalog.
Yeah, but YouTube came along, and you could now watch people doing these races. You could look at these areas you wanted to travel to. And it was so helpful, and I thought, I want to do that. I want to be helpful, and it's fun. And just like you, I wanted for my family to see, hey, look at this crazy shit I'm doing. And I'm like you. I put it out there on YouTube, and I thought, I'll get family to watch it. And I'm not Taylor Swifty. I don't have 10 million subscribers, but I'm always surprised at people that go out and watch my stuff. And it's crazy. The film I've gotten the most, Kevin, I've gotten like thousands of views on, is a silly little video. This is for your reference. A silly little video I made on how to modify a vest to fit these hiking poles. So Solomon makes this quiver, and you have to have a Solomon vest to fit the quiver in. Well, I found a way to do it with a regular vest. You just sew on little loops. And that fucking video, Kevin, has 7.6 thousand views.
Oh,
I'm like, what in the world? I've had people from all over the world say, like, hey, thanks for that. I'm like, sure, dude. It was like, 2 hours. I thought a few people might find it helpful, but yeah.
That is awesome.
I really enjoy your YouTube channel. It's really fun. Where do you have, you're going to obviously keep filming all of these Run the 50 adventures. Any other designs on filmmaking that you have besides running the 50? Are you going to make some? I see Erik is joining us. Erik, we're just finishing up talking about Kevin's YouTube channel.
I don't
Sounds
know.
Good.
Like I'm always open to a new challenge, right? And anything that can come my way to, because what I like to do, to your point, is I like to view other people's channels to see what they do, right? I've taken like ideas that you have, and I've taken ideas that other people have, and I'm like, oh, okay, that I got to try that. I got to try that. I'm sort of limited a little bit because, like I said, I use my phone, my iPhone. So I use iMovie to do all my filming. So I don't have as much technical stuff, but there are ideas that I'd like to do different. And I keep trying to get different things incorporated so it's not the same thing every time. So that's, and to your point, I want to keep growing and expanding it, right, a little bit in terms of like different footage and that kind of stuff. So, because I just started doing talk over, which is different, and, doing different things. So, I don't know. I mean, this works for me. I did get a GoPro. So the challenge with that is I need software on my computer, and which is a little more, right. And
You can also, Kevin, GoPro comes with, I don't know GoPro. I use DJI. DJI is kind of the knockoff for the action cameras. It's not GoPro. They have their own software that you can download on your phone. And you can literally transfer the videos to your phone and use that software right on your phone. DJI Mimo. In fact, if you look up DJI Mimo, MIMO, you can download that to your phone, and if you can get the videos from your GoPro to your phone, you can edit it right on there. You can add sound files. You can edit the video. Yeah, it's pretty slick. It's a rabbit hole. My God, Erik knows this. Like, Erik and I ran a race last year. I still haven't finished that fucking film. It's still sitting there in the can. It just takes forever. And now with the podcast, it's like, my God, I work a full-time job. I only have so much time in the day to get these things done.
And that is my other challenge, right? Because I do try to get the video out that I did. Like, say I ran today, I try and edit it all that night so that the next morning it's ready to be released. So that does take time, but it's fun. It's cool. Yeah.
I appreciate you. I think you've got 100 subscribers. That's what I've got, about 100 subscribers. So It's not nothing, It's something.
No, it's something.
It's something.
It's if I can interject here, I've watched your Fire Tower 50K video. Really enjoyed it. Yep. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Erik, I told him that's why I did it, because of his film.
Yeah, I had to double check, but I was like, seeing your face on camera here, I was like, I think I've watched his Fire Tower video. So I went and looked, and I sure have.
That's awesome. Thank you. That's super cool.
I met
Erik.
Incredibly
humbling.
Yeah, no, it's you did a great job with those, Erik. I had watched his Fire Tower 50K, and then the next year I ran it, and of course, his film was one of the reasons why I ran it. I was like, oh, this looks really nice and very flat, and I enjoyed it, and it seemed like a good race. And then the next year I was running Storm of the Day. And like you haven't run it yet, Erik. Mario has, but like you like run past each other in certain parts. I remember like running past this guy, going, "Where do I know that dude from? And finally I figured out. I'm like, your name's Kevin. Of course he doesn't know who I am. No. And I'm like, you got a YouTube channel, and so we stopped and chatted. We both made movies of our Storm of the Park Day. And released them, I think, about a week apart last year, or 2 years ago. So.
No, you met Jason at Storm of the Day, right? Or
Jason Reeve?
Yeah.
I met him at Storm the Park.
Was this the same Storm the Park? Were you also
This was Storm the Day.
Oh, okay.
It was the same year.
Oh, okay.
Was it the same year? But later in the year, in October when they do that race. Where's Mario? Is Mario joining us?
Yeah, he might be. It's kind of kids' bedtimes right now, so he might be trying to put kids down. But I think I might have been at Fire Tower that same year. That would have been 2023 or 2.
I was there in 23. When were you there, Kevin?
I was there the year before. Yeah, 22.
Okay.
So I think that's the year I did the 11K, 7K. They have a weird short distance that I went and ran.
All right.
I think it's 11K, 7 miles.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right.
There is Mr. Mario,
Good
Mr.
evening.
Backyard Ultra himself.
Even sporting the shirt.
I'll give
today.
quick intro. Wonderful. Nice. So I'll give quick introductions. I don't know if you guys have watched his YouTube channel. You've heard me talk about Kevin. You've been on text with Kevin. This is Kevin Swift. Kevin, this is Erik and Mario. They're on, we call them crew access. So we have these episodes where it's the three of us just bullshitting and talking about whatever we want to talk about. Because nobody just wants to hear me talk. So these guys come on and make it interesting, and we've got these great little crew access episodes. Well, Mario and Erik, Mario ran, what year did you run the Elm Creek backyard, Mario?
That was 2024.
2024, okay. And Erik was on his crew. So let's lead into this. Kevin, when we first started chatting on email a while back before I brought these guys into it, what was your question was, and you got any advice for running a backyard ultra? So what's the story, Kevin? Are you going to do a backyard ultra? How did we get to this point?
Yeah, well, going back to all the dumb challenges that I've done, which is like the David Goggins thing and all the other stupid things I've done, right? I'm like, oh, there's this big backyard thing. That looks tough. Maybe I should try that. So I had been thinking about it for a long time. And like I told you earlier, Joey, I actually set up a little bitty thing. I live out in the country in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin, and did my own mini backyard challenge. I did 3 miles out and back. I waited a while, did another one, I'm like, oh, that sounds kind of fun. So propel that to last year, and and that's kind of how you guys all got looped in, is I was preparing to do a big backyard race. And I'm trying to remember, maybe you guys, because I think I told you I ended up not going because of, I don't remember what it was. Was it an injury or just time or something? But yeah, how I ended up kind of looping all you guys in is it's such a unique deal. Right? It's not just going to run a 10K or a half or even an ultra, because you stop and then you got to start again. And it's like mentally, like, I have a lot of questions, right? But first question is, how do you train for that? Like, what was your process in doing that?
And I'm going to start. I always say I've got a sister, Madonna, in Manhattan, who, she listens to every episode, but she's not a trail runner by nature, so I like to explain the rules. Mario, Erik, explain the rules of a backyard ultra. What exactly is that? I know what it is. Kevin knows what it is, but I might have a listener or two that doesn't.
So the backyard ultra is not even really a fixed time event. It's a fixed distance event. So every hour you get 1 hour to run 4.16 repeating. Is that correct, Mario?
Yeah.
Is it 4.1 or 4.13?
Very specific. So it's 4.1667. And the idea behind that number is if you do that 24 times, it equals 100 miles. So the idea is if you run for 24 hours, you can get your 100-mile belt buckle that you would get in a normal 100-mile race. So each loop is 4.16 miles. And it starts at the top of the hour. So at the year I did it, it started at noon. And you have until 1 o'clock to finish that 4.1667 mile loop. Get back through the finish line and to your camp, wherever you have decided to pitch your tent or set up your little station. They do have spots right up by the finish line later in the race for crew to move the essentials closer. And then as people drop, spots thin out, but and then get back on that start line for the top of the next hour, so you can do the same thing again and try to get back within the end of that hour. So, and the cycle continues.
And the goal is to just keep going as long as you can. And in the high level elite events, these people literally go for days. They go for multiple days now, where they just keep doing these loops, and it's hundreds of miles. It's absolutely crazy.
And for Madonna in Manhattan, who I totally did not believe was real for like the first couple episodes that you referenced her, and then I found out on Facebook Madonna in Manhattan is real.
She's
so
real.
Shut up, Madonna. You'll also often hear them referred to as last man standing because the quote-unquote winner of these events is the last man standing. The caveat to that is you'll often hear about something called an assist. Again, this is at like the elite levels with people who are competing to win these things. But the assist is who takes second place because once second place drops out, the winner has to go complete that other 4 miles by themselves. Once they close that last loop, they won. Well, if you're looking to set a personal best, break a world record, just see how far you can take it, you need second place to also go to their very best. And so you'll often hear that called the assist because they have assisted in the elite world when they're doing these, 100+ yards. It takes a special person to help them get there and achieve those goals and distances.
Yeah. Good point. So let's go to Kevin's first question. And I know, guys, we have a mutual friend, Jason Reeve, who is doing the Elm Creek Backyard Ultra. And I was texting with him today and I said, got any questions? And he said, all of them. And Kevin, he's in the middle of training for this. So Mario, what did you do for training? How did your training change, or what did you do anything specific to prepare for this? And then I'll talk a little bit about what I know Jason is doing. Yeah.
So one thing that I did that I was very specific about was I knew that I was going to have trouble near the end of the day in the overnight hours. Running through the dark of the night is something that I still have yet to do, is run completely through the night from sunrise or sunset to sunrise. And so majority of my training was at night. It was the very last thing I did. And I would go out and I would run at least a yard. And I would make sure that 4.1 miles was ran within an hour. And then what I also did is in those runs where I would go even longer than 4.1 miles, I would just stop at 4.16 miles on my watch. I would have a gel. And if I planned to do 2 yards that night, I would stop and wait until the top of the next hour, and then I would start again. You simulate how you race. I'm a firm believer in that. And so I knew where I would struggle the most was at night. Turns out that's where I did struggle the most. We can talk about that, later. But through the bulk of my training was I would eat either that or I would eat dinner, and I would go out and run right away on a full stomach, because that was one thing I knew, that once you run longer and longer, even if you just take in a little bit of food, you feel more full more quickly. I don't know how to explain it, but when you get to a certain point in endurance running, you hit a point where getting anything down is tough. And then running on a full stomach, that's hard. So I was getting myself used to that, and then running at night. I didn't focus too much in the morning because I knew the race didn't start until noon. So I didn't need to necessarily worry about getting up and getting my miles in early. It was more or less focusing on what I thought I would struggle with the most.
That's interesting. And that's kind of Jason Reeve. I know and if you guys follow him on Strava, Kevin, he's mapped out a course that's 4.1667 miles. Mm-hmm. And he's done kind of like Mario did, where he'll run it and then he'll run it twice, or he's not running it like 10 times or something, but he'll run it 2-3 times that exact distance. Probably something helpful with that. Yeah, that's interesting. The whole eating thing, I don't even think about. It's something we don't think about, do we? Think about eating when we're running, but that's a huge thing. And yeah, you've got some stories, Erik, about trying to fuel Mario during his... Mario, give a quick recap of how your Elm Creek backyard went. It's pretty impressive, I think. I think you...
It went textbook for the first, 8 yards, the 8 loops. So up until about sunset. And they switch up. Another caveat is they switch up the direction of the loops every 6 hours. So just about 6 hours, you're getting into the groove of things. They change it up again on you at, it would be 6 p.m., and then they change it up again at midnight. And so it was that second switch that kind of got me. But I fueled well. I was running pretty consistently for the first few. I think I was running a little bit too fast in the first, I think 4 were with it plus or minus a few minutes. Correct me if I'm wrong, Erik. The first 4 or 5 loops were pretty spot on. And then
what kind of pace was that, Mario? If I can ask,
I think I finished those loops.
How quickly were you getting done?
It was between 45 and 49 minutes, I think. Those first few. Okay. Erik might be looking
just
up
under
the
a
stats
12-minute
right
mile.
I don't.
Erik, is that what you remember?
It was 48 to 52.
48 to 52.
About 12-minute miles. 12 and a half minute
Yeah,
miles.
and that was kind of the goal, was to focus on about 12-minute miles and be consistent with that. Give myself some time to, when I did it, it seems to rain every single event that I do. And so I just got absolutely pummeled with rain and wind. It was cold too. And so I changed clothes. I changed my top layers a couple times just to get some dry clothes on that weren't wet. And then come the nighttime, it was the fueling for me. Like we were talking about eating, you kind of forget about it. Well, after doing the same thing for 9, 10, 11, 12 hours, you start to, get a little bit lackadaisical. And at that point, my mental faculties were not were not firing at all on all cylinders, and probably because I was falling behind on my nutrition, on my fueling, my carbs intake, and then my water intake. And so Erik and my other crew, Ian, were just shoving food in my pockets and telling me don't come back here with this food here. This has to be gone by the time you get back. It was to try to get me to eat as much as possible, to keep me fueled, because they could see the less and less calories that I was eating on course. I was coming back with almost the same stuff they were giving me the loop before, and that's when things kind of started to fall apart. So it's just staying, whatever plan you have set out, do your best to stick to it. And so I started to get closer to cutoff at hour, was that 12 and 13, so that would have been at midnight and then 1 a.m., and then I went out for my 14th loop, and with about a mile and a half left, I took a wrong turn. It was pouring rain. I had my head down, looking down at the trail, and then I realized I hadn't seen a flag in a while. Got back on course, and I could tell I wasn't going to make it back, but I was really close. I was probably 150 yards from the start-finish line. I kind of gave up, once I realized I only had 2 minutes left to get to the start line, and then I would have had to get going right away again.
You would have to immediately start again.
Yeah. And right after that, the weather really picked up. The wind picked up. It absolutely poured rain for that next hour, so it was a little bit of a silver lining. But I made it 14 loops, 58.3 miles. I have my medal right behind me here on the wall.
There you go. Kevin, do you have a crew lined up that would assist you with this? When you've been thinking about doing, is that something you've thought about as a crew?
It is. And that was part of one of my questions too, is, with this, is it something where, because I've talked to people, doing some of the around the states that have done ultras, and some like to do a crew, some prefer to do it by themselves. What is your thoughts on that? I mean, is it something where you found it beneficial, Mario, to have Erik and his team there to help motivate you and keep you going? Or do you think you still could have accomplished those 14 yards without having a crew?
Be careful what you say. Erik's right there.
No, don't worry about me. I'll give my opinion after.
Yeah,
exactly.
I feel like I probably would have either pulled myself, or not had enough time during some of the transitions for the stuff that I did. The way that I did the race, I couldn't have done it without crew. I could have gone, if the weather would have been better and I wouldn't have had to change clothes as often, and have kind of stuff set up, I maybe could have done 50 miles, but I don't think I could have got through those last 2 loops without knowing that when I got back, a lot of that basic need stuff was kind of being taken care of. Filling my water bottles, repacking my vest that I wore, with calories for the loop that I didn't have to think about. So I think crew is super beneficial. You can do them solo. I know people do. But the ones that do it and do it well and reach their goals do it with a team.
Erik, what's your take on the crew? And it wasn't just you. There was another person there as well, right?
Yep. Ian was there, and then actually Mario's family came out and supported during the daylight hours, and then his dad stayed basically the whole time.
Do you want to talk about personnel and crew when you?
Well, that was kind of going to be my touch point. I think for my first one, I would have someone. Just it doesn't have to be a big, massive crew, but someone. Just because when you're 12 hours deep, you're not noticing the little things that an extra pair of eyes could. Like, we talk about the food being the thing that we noticed, because that's really all that was going wrong with Mario. I mean, he was moving well. Had he made the time cutoff, there's no doubt in my mind he could have done at least another loop, if not two. But, we could have the early signs of you're just not eating enough. But then on the other side, you have to have a crew that you trust to tell you, eat this. And Mario, to his credit, Mario trusted in us, and I made a bad call, and we gave him those Ensure diet drinks. And it just, he didn't eat anything again. It just sat in his stomach for the next 3 hours. So
that was super
hand
full.
up on that one. Hand up. But, I mean, we're talking everything we put in his pack was coming back except, a gel. Well, you've been running for 12 hours. You got to have more than that going on. So it's kind of like a break glass in case of emergency, and didn't work out. So, but I think I have no doubt maybe on a second one, go out there and try it yourself. We actually had a friend, Mario and I kind of mutual acquaintance named Dan, who was there doing it solo by himself, and he pulled the plug at 50 miles. And I don't know if that was just a goal, and so he was ready to be done. But when he pulled the plug, I saw him. I was like, "Oh, you ready to keep going? You look awesome." And he was just done. And so I don't know. Again, that could have been a personal goal. I don't know what he had set out to do that day. But I think if he had a crew, they could have been like, "Oh, Dan, you're doing awesome. Let's just get you loaded up with calories and get you back out there." And so
speaking of that, go ahead, Erik.
I really think for the first time, just have someone there that can notice the signs, because you're gonna probably feel things you haven't felt before. You know what I mean?
Sure.
It's just way different. Yeah. Mario talked about at one point walking backwards up a hill because of the rain and the wind, and it just felt easier on the legs and that kind of stuff.
Backwards downhill.
It's backwards downhill.
If you're ever in a race that has a lot of downhill and your hamstrings start to just absolutely go south, just turn around and walk backwards. It's like a hack. Everyone walks backwards down the ski hill at some point. It's probably around the 3 or 4 hour mark. People, because you have time, right, to take the hill, take it slow.
Yeah, fascinating. That's great.
Kevin,
so
what
you
were
guys
going to ask?
Yeah. Well, yeah. So what I was going to ask is, you guys talked about, Erik, you were talking about making sure that he kept stuff in. Was there a plan going into it that, okay, Mario, we want to make sure you have X amount of calories every hour. Don't matter how you get them, but these are the things that we need to maintain, 150, 200, whatever it was, or was it just keep getting something in you?
It was mostly just whatever he could digest. I think your spreadsheet might have had, he had made a homemade, almost like the pouches that toddlers have, but it was sweet potato, brown sugar, and something in resealable pouches that he could take, and those had a predetermined amount of carbs in them. So then he could have one of those, and then kind of snack to taste at the time. So there was gummy worms, there was bacon, there was
I had French
pancakes
toast
with sour cream, or
French toast
with sour
cheese.
cream cheese. That's what it was, but. I'd never seen that one before, but it was working for him, so we rolled with it.
It's the sweet and savory.
But just awesome. A variety, sweet, savory, sour, kind of just whatever, but kind of your staple thing. Well, pretty soon the pouches were out. We weren't not pretty soon, but hour 6 or 7, the pouches were just I'm so tired of having these. Let's try something else. So we did pickles and bacon and inside the French toast and just anything to try and get him to eat. And then more and more, it was just like half the French toast isn't eaten. The whole French toast isn't eaten, but we got 2 gummy worms and a gel down. And so you could just notice that thing. I don't think it was I don't remember us having like a strict, like,
gotcha,
this many gels, this many carbs per hour. It was just kind of like, here's the loose plan.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Interesting. Erik,
hold on. We were going back to crew personnel.
Yes.
Yeah.
For your first time crew, bring someone who has seen you in the depths of an ultra before. Mario's
Not
dad,
a family member that hasn't.
Yeah, Mario's dad, which obviously, like, being a dad now, I can kind of connect with what he was feeling in that moment. But I mean, Mario was like, the lights are on, but no one was home, kind of. And his dad's like, so Mario would come in, plop down on the chair. We're shoving bacon in pockets, telling him he looks great. You're moving so awesome. We literally like pick him up in the chair and throw him towards the start line before the buzzer goes. And his dad's just like, what I assume like Vietnam veterans looked like just shell shocked.
Oh God!
Are you sure you should be going back out there? Oh, he's fine. He's fine.
That's my son.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Kevin, if you bring your daughters to crew, you just let them know you're going to see Dad not in a state that you've seen before. Don't be shocked. 100%. Just keep fueling me, sending me out.
Tell him he looks great.
Erik, and we can ask the flip side of Mario, too. Anything you would have done different as a crew member, knowing, how it went, and then Mario, flip side for you, anything you would have asked the crew to do differently, and it's okay, this is a safe space, Erik will not get mad at you.
No.
Start with you, Erik.
From my perspective, our tent was a little far back. I thought we got there plenty early, but Mario had to do like an extra, I don't know, we'll call it 50 yards to the tent and back. Well, when you're doing that many miles, that adds up. Hour after hour, you're doing an extra football field.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty soon you're doing extra miles, basically. So, either get there really early to set up your tent, or if you can't set up your tent close to the finish line, bring a chair, and then just kind of pre-communicate, here's what's sitting well in my stomach right now, or here's what I'm liking this loop. Can you bring that to the chair next loop? And then maybe an option B and an option C. Save that extra effort. It doesn't 50 yards, right? You're running 50 miles. What's it matter? It adds up. Yeah. The other thing would be is if you can get your tent close to it. We did like a pop-up tent, and Mario said it rained. It was the closest thing to a hurricane Minnesota's ever gotten. It was like 40 mile per hour crosswinds gusting up to 60. The rain's coming in sideways. So we had a pop-up, and then we... like one of the like picnic pop-ups, right? It goes up to like 8 feet, has the 4-inch wide things that you nail down. Well, it wasn't stable, and then we were putting tarps on the side to try and build a shelter. Well, now it became a sail. So we had to scrunch it down to, it was probably like 4.5 to 5 feet tall.
Yeah, I had to duck.
I think if you were in the pointed part of it, you could stand up straight. So after running all that time, Mario's in the shelter, hunched over, trying to eat, get dry clothes on, kick his feet up, do whatever. So what I would suggest is, I don't know if you're an ice fisherman, but like Clam makes those really nice kind of portable ice houses or something like that. A lot of people had those. A really heavy-duty tent that you can stand up in and stakes down really nice. We made a lot of errors, as you can tell, but... learning experience, a stable, nice structure, especially when it's cold and rainy. We could have put like a little one of those buddy heaters in there, dried out clothes a little bit better, kept that warm so you get some reprieve.
Mario, from your perspective, anything you would have changed on the crew side?
Honestly, no. I mean, they did everything that I had asked them in my spreadsheet. I gave everyone tasks and jobs to do throughout the day. When I got to a tough point, I said I was going to rely on primarily Erik because we had ran together, most recently or most frequently, and so he knew me as a runner and knew kind of what my goals were. And Ian's a really experienced runner, and so I relied on him to make sure that I was hitting, the paces and goals that I wanted. And so from a crew standpoint, I think those two, and then my dad, I wasn't expecting my dad to stay and help, and that was great that he stayed and helped. And so, I had three people there to help. And like Erik said, our shelter just wasn't well placed. It wasn't placed in an ideal spot. And then the conditions were less than ideal. And so I think those two factors, outside of the crew, I don't think I would have changed anything other than get a better shelter that I can properly get out of the elements, whatever they are. Even if it was, a bright, sunny day and I was just getting cooked in the sun out there, it would be nice to go into a well-shaded, climate-controlled space.
Yeah. The other crew standpoint and runner standpoint is Mario. He just referenced it, but he had like a 5-6 tab Excel sheet with like paces, food, what clothes he was bringing, so on and so forth. And that's great, but you got to be ready to have a plan B, C, D, all the way down to Z, because your stomach might turn, your leg might cramp for a couple laps or loops, whatever. So just be ready to adapt and go on the fly. The other thing that, you've done, I'll have to listen to the first half of this episode, but I know you've done at least a 50K. Yeah. And things go wrong. Like, I famously have the story at Antelope Island Buffalo Run where I just sat on a rock for like 15 minutes and collected my thoughts. Black Canyon, I sat in a porta potty. Like, you get time to stop and Band-Aid stuff and piece it together. You don't in a backyard. I mean, you get 5 minutes, maybe, depending on what kind of lap time. You get 5 minutes to fix your issues. So you have to fix your issues on the fly. The crew can give you, okay, you're cramping. We think maybe you need salt, or there's an electrolyte imbalance here, or whatever. We can give you the tools that we think can help you fix those problems. You have to fix them while you move.
That's a great point. You've got to fix stuff on that 4 miles. You don't have time to fix it in between.
Well, and that was one of the things that I was going to talk about or ask you guys too, is because when I was training, I went out and did I think the most I did in one day just to try it was like 8 yards or whatever. So I did 8 of them, right? Oh. But I can see where I would get back and I would make it back to my car. But then to your point, I think, Erik, you had said, by the time Mario got back, you had everything ready for him, right? So, when I was testing it out and doing my training runs, I would get back and then I'd have to unlock the car, open the tailgate, right, get all my stuff and mix all my things, and I'd try and do it ahead of time. But to your point, time's ticking, right? I got to get done as quick as I can. And that's where I found the biggest challenge wasn't – because I was able to kind of keep those times, Mario, it's funny that you said 48 to 52. That's kind of the mark I had in my head. But my challenge is trying to get in and out and get all my stuff in time. There was a couple times where I was late and I'm like, shoot, I'd have missed it, because you just lose track. So I can see where having a crew to have that ready for you, boom, and you're ready to go. So... and when to go ahead,
like in the later loops, at that point everything Mario brought was just soaked, so we weren't really earlier on in the day he was changing. I want a dry shirt, I want a dry jacket, I want whatever. But then nothing was dry, so he was just kind of staying with it, and it literally got to the point where he would just dump trash out or what he had eaten out, and we just repack it with the next thing that he was supposed to eat, and then see you later, get off your feet for 2 or 3 minutes. Because we eventually did bring a chair up to the finish line. After, what is it, Mario? 150 people started the race, or 168, or, 150 plus.
160 something.
Yeah. So it had thinned out quite a bit by nighttime. There's a lot of people there that just want to do their first marathon, their first 50K, so it gets easier to just plop a chair up by the finish line because there's less people there, and the crowd dispersed a little bit because it's nighttime, it's freezing cold, it's rain. And so we started to correct some of our mistakes. And so then it was just like, okay, let's bring bacon. They started cooking food at the start line because it was by like a park pavilion. So there was quesadillas, there was whatever. And at that point, we were just trying to get them to eat. So it's like, here's a quesadilla, shove it in the front pocket of your pack. Don't bring it back. Like that kind of stuff. So that can be beneficial for time saving and less brain power. Like you don't have to think as much. It's just, okay, this food's in my pack, I need to eat it, and I need to get these 4 hours or these 4 miles done in the next 52 minutes.
It feels to me like we watch the elites at these, famous trail races. Feels like the elites where they come into the aid station and boom, boom, they got their bottles, get going. The clock is ticking. That guy's coming a minute behind you. You're out here to win it. It feels like that kind of a feeling, which is kind of crazy. Mario, what was your goal when you did the backyard ultra? Did you had a goal? I think it was at 100 miles that you wanted to get to, or to win it, or what was your actual goal when you started?
A goal was 100 miles, and I felt that the training I had leading up to it, everything, all things considered, I was trending really well, and I was feeling really good. And then as the race got closer, not that I gave up on the 100-mile goal, but I kind of started to grasp the reality of, there's no time off, there's no time to make a mistake. My goal was to run as far as I had ever run before. That's kind of what it morphed into. I really wanted to get 100K, which would have been one more loop, one more yard at 15 yards. But yeah, my A goal was 100 miles. And then the goal that I kind of finished feeling at the end of the race was just to run as far as I ever had before. And I did that. I ran, 58.3 miles, and still the furthest I've ever ran in a single Strava recorded run. So.
Kevin, are you willing to share? You have goals for mileage, or just run as far as you can, win the event? I think, by the way, Jason Reeve, I get the sense he's out there to frickin' win it. He's like, he's not there to just show up. This is a dude who's completed 2 100-mile races, so he probably can. Yeah. But what's your goal, Kevin?
My goal would be to run further than I have before. I would like to do 100K. I would still like to do 100 miles something in the next couple of years, but my goal would be to... So 43, Mario, is the most miles I did. That was the race Joey and I were at down at the Run the...
Storm of the Day. Mario, you did that one last year, yep. Storm of the Day. Yep.
Yep. So I did 43 miles at that. So my goal would be to beat that. But yeah, I would like to also do 100K. I think that'd be a great mark to hit. That's a big one.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. When you got a race in mind, Kevin, you're looking at, or a timeline when you're thinking?
There was something. There was something in the fall, and I don't remember where it was at. I'd have to look it up. What was the one you guys did? Elm Creek? When's that?
Elm Creek is in April.
Yeah, it should be coming up.
It's coming up. That one usually sells out pretty quick. It's very popular.
It's a very shameless plug for Minnesota Trail Racing, but it's a very well-run race. They do like the month before, every Saturday or Sunday, they do race course previews. Like one's at 8 and one's at 9. So at 8 they'll run clockwise. At 9 they'll run counterclockwise. So like Mario was in, I believe, California, so I went for him, so I could kind of tell him the course or whatever, and it's just put on by a great group of guys and ladies, and they, like I said, they're making fresh quesadillas, fresh bacon,
that's cool.
Coffee for the runners, water for runners and crew, and it's a well-run event with a strong community, so it sells out within minutes every year.
That's cool. Yeah, I'd like to do one close, right? I thought there was one in Wisconsin. There's one called the Baby Backyard that I looked up. It's in Andover.
I did hear about
but
that
it
one.
maxes at 50K. What's that?
I did hear about that one. I was just going to say, yeah, I heard about that one, but that one maxes out at 50K. It's for a charity. I can't remember which one.
Yeah. So there is another one. I just can't remember when it was at.
There's one in Scotty somewhere, but I don't remember the name. I remember seeing it like a year or two back. I
agree with you, and I think that's the one I was sort of leaning towards, and I think it's this fall. I just can't find it in my calendar right now, but yeah, I'd like to try it. I think it'd be super cool just to say I tried one, you know, and I put so much time and effort into it last year in training, and so I did have another question, Mario. In terms of training, did you always just run that mileage, or did you do some days where you just went out and did a pile of miles like you were training for an ultra, or was it always 4 point whatever?
I kind of did both. So I did do long runs in preparation for this event, and during those long runs, I wouldn't stop for a full, you know, if I finished 4.1 miles, say in 40 minutes, say I ran 10-minute miles, I wouldn't stop for 20 minutes and wait till the top of the hour. I'd stop and have a gel, or I'd stop and refuel, take some electrolytes, take in some water. So I would condition my body to getting used to about that 4-mile mark, being kind of ready to stop, refuel, rehydrate, get some electrolytes. But I didn't go out and only do 4.16 mile runs and then you know multipliers of that. I did regular runs, but I would try to make it a point to stop.
Are you a loop guy, Kevin? Like loops don't bother you?
Loops don't bother me, no. Okay. So part of the earlier discussion that Joey and I were having, so I have a quest to do 5K, 10K half in every state, right? And I do them with mainly marathons. They're out of St. Cloud. And their whole setup is an out and back, right? And so it's a mile, 1.1 miles out and back. So you might run 12 of those to complete your thing, right? So doing something like that is something that I'm used to doing. Okay. Right? Because I know it's a whole different mindset, right? It's like,
I despise loops. So like the backyard ultra thing to me is like, you guys are nuts. I'm out here to be in nature, not see the same thing every hour at the exact same time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it is weird, man. It's like, okay, there's the same hill, there's the same rock, there's the same tree, there's the same everything. It's like, oh boy, here we go again. You know, Groundhog Day, but but yeah, it is something I'm a little more used to since doing some of these other events. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's a good point.
The repetition is comforting, Erik.
It can be, yeah. And Erik, we are all, Kevin, with the three of us are doing the David Shannon Fans Ultra event. Mario and I are doing 24 hours, which, by the way, if you ever want to try to run 100 miles in a controlled setting that is very safe, well, unless we get a hurricane, is very safe and well supported, good food. That's a great event, and it's all on paved path around that lake I told you about. Erik, you're going to have to, you know, I don't know. I think you're going to run that loop more than once. We'll see, but
we'll see. Maybe I'll get out there, do one loop, and just start eating bacon. Call it a day.
There you go. You can always do that. Kevin, it's the first week of June. He usually does it end of May, beginning of June. I can send you the details if you want. That's a great event. I also told you, Kevin, about the 4 hour and 8 hour event that's closer to you, put on by St. Croix Running. It's called Icebox 480.
Yes.
I think I mentioned it to you. That you would enjoy that. It's kind of like Storm of the Day. You just run this cool 5-mile loop as many times as you want, well supported. But
which was once for me when I ran Icebox. It was a 7-mile loop at the time. I ran one 7-mile loop, looked at my then girlfriend, now wife, and said, "Hey, let's go home or let's go to Stillwater and just have a nice Saturday. What are we doing out here?"
I saw the loop once. I don't do loops twice. Come on, you know that. Well, Kevin, awesome. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. Wrap this up a little bit. You have any more questions for the guys? Otherwise, I've got my little closing things, and guys, you can just hold on through this. But any other questions for Mario or Erik, Kevin, about the Backyard Ultra?
I don't think so. This has been this has been awesome. It's A, great to meet you guys, and B, love learning about this. So it is on my roadmap. So all of this information is super beneficial. So thank you all. Appreciate it.
That's nice meeting you as well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. So Kevin, I'm gonna my final. I wrote down some things here for the end. Any upcoming races this year? Any more of the mainly marathon events or anything for 2026 you've got lined up?
I'm not sure about any more states this year. I want to try and get an ultra in this fall. So that's something I'm looking at. The Eau Claire Marathon is coming up the first weekend of May, and I'm on the committee for that. I think I'm going to run the half that day and then the 10K the night before.
Oh, nice.
Because it's a beautiful course. If you guys have ever run it, it's absolutely amazing. So, but that is the only thing that I truly have planned yet this year. So definitely next year, more states, 100%. I'd like to, as we move in the next few years, do a couple a year because it still takes a long time. So,
Yep. Do you have a dream race that you want to do, or maybe a dream state, maybe Alaska or Hawaii? Is there like a dream race out there that you're like, yeah, one of these years, that's the race I'm going to do?
So mainly it does go to Alaska and Hawaii, and every friend and relative all want to sign up for Hawaii to go with me to that. So that is certainly on the bucket list. Actually, I have not done anything in the Northeast, right? So up in the New England states, and I'm really, really looking forward. That's kind of my next spot that I really want to tackle because it's supposed to be beautiful. I've never been there. So that is my next bucket list spot to go.
Got it. Love it. And then I usually ask people what hobbies they have outside of, filmmaking and running. I know your hobby, dude. I saw it. You talked about it. Tell me about the music. Are you in two bands? One is called Rocks. One is called, and I love this name, Six Figure Sunrise. There it is, dude. I got to get a shirt. Tell me about the music career. Tell me about that.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, so a couple bands. So Rocks is a band that we started back in college. Same four guys as we had back in college. So we don't play out. We don't do a lot of gigs because one guy goes to Florida 6 months a year. One of the other guys, our guitarist, farms 2,000 acres out in western Minnesota. So it's really hard for us to get together. But what we've done lately in the past year is we wrote a lot of stuff in our younger days, and we have done a lot of covers, which we kind of do uniquely. So a buddy of mine in town has a recording studio. So we actually went in, recorded some music, and we released our first single back in July of last year. It's our cover. It's our original song. It's called On and On. And it's out on all.
Hold on 1 second, Kevin.
Yeah.
Does it sound like this? The drumming hear, that is my guest, Kevin Swifty Swift.
That's it. That's awesome.
I found it. Yeah. So you recorded that last year, the two songs?
We did.
Awesome.
Yep. So that's our original. And then we released a cover song just before New Year's called 4th of July. It's a cover of Shooter Jennings' song, who was Waylon's kid. And then we have 3 songs we're planning to release over the next 6 months. And then the guys are coming back out this summer working on some original stuff. So we do one big event back in Waterville every year. We call it Rocks Jam, kind of play off the whole Rock Fest thing, right? And we spend the day with the kids and the family. We have a big music event, play music, and then so we're out on all. So I'm a national recording artist, right? Wow,
there you go.
Cool. Which is kind of cool.
It's very cool. It's very cool. As somebody who occasionally does music, Six Figure Sunrise. So this is the band, kind of the bar band you're in.
Yeah,
I've seen videos on Facebook and stuff.
Yeah,
very talented. I mean, the gal who does the lead singing and you on the drums and the guitar playing, just phenomenal. Oh. Another really talented group of folks.
Yeah, very blessed to be able to find these guys and gals. I've been there with them now 2.5 years, and we do have a lot of big shows. We play a mix of country and rock. little bit of pop. But yeah, we're playing at Country Fest out here, Summer Jam, State Fair. So we got a lot of big shows, and it's just a blessing to be able to, to perform and to do so in front of, a lot of friends and family and just have a ball. It's a great time, and I'm fortunate to still be able to do that. So love for you guys to come out, follow Rocks on Spotify or Apple Music, and then come watch a six-figure show sometime.
Let's find a trail race right around and near one of your concerts, and 3 of us will head out there and have some fun.
Great.
I gotta ask, who's your drumming idol? Who's your favorite drummer?
I think I would probably pick Alex Van Halen. He was, that's I grew up in the 80s, right? Yeah. And Van Halen was a big influence for me. Their music, their style, and Alex is so talented, and he's probably my number one go-to. There's a lot of talented drummers that a lot of people reference. I just like his style, his playing, that type of music. So he would probably be my number one. Yeah,
love it.
Yeah.
I'm going to see Wolfie on Saturday, my buddy and I. We absolutely love him, so we treated ourselves. We're going out to Mystic Lake to see him perform out there. Can't wait. Okay, last bit, Kevin. Give me, I don't know if you listen to the full podcast, I always end these with, you got to tell me your 5 favorite pieces of gear that you like to have when you're on a run.
Start with my Brooks shoes. That's my go-to. I use Brooks. That's my favorite. I use to do my filming. I have it's kind of, the kids call it a little fanny pack, but it's not. It's not a fanny pack. It's because those were weird things back in the 80s. This is a running belt. Thank you very much. And it's
not a man purse. It's a running belt.
What's that?
It's not a man purse. It's a running belt.
Oh, exactly. So I got to have that so I can, do my filming. Yeah. Always wear a baseball cap, sunscreen.
Okay. That's 4. You're at 4 already. 4. Yep.
And one more, huh? One more item that as a go-to. Whew, man, boy, that's a good one. How about probably just a water bottle, right? Just to have something to keep me hydrated. So that's
soft flask or a hard flask. What do you like?
Well, if I'm doing trail running, I do the soft flask in my vest, right? Typically.
Okay.
If I'm doing shorter runs, 10Ks, halves, that kind of stuff, I use a harder water bottle that I can hold on to. I don't like things in my hands. I hate holding on to things. I hate it. I hate it. Yeah. So it drives me crazy. So I try and get the ones where I can kind of put it on the back of my hand, so I don't really feel like I'm holding on to it, right?
Yep.
So that's my thing. Yeah.
Awesome. This is awesome, Kevin. Thank you for the time. Erik and Mario, thanks for chiming in so we could learn about all things Backyard Ultras. And Kevin, I'll have links to all of your YouTube channel. I'll have a link out there to Mainly Marathons too, because I think that's a really cool organization and people should check that out. And of course, I'm going to have links to find your music with Rocks and 6-Figure Sunrise.
Thank you. Appreciate it. That's awesome.
Swifty, what a 6-figure conversation. That was such a delight to get to know you and hear all about your adventures. And a special thanks to Erik and Mario for joining us and dropping all of that great knowledge on the Backyard Ultras. I wish you luck, Kevin and Jason and Mario and everyone else who are doing those things. You probably won't catch me there anytime soon, but happy to crew you and shove some bacon or quesadillas in your vest pocket and hold your tent down should you need it. Check the show notes where I will have links to Kevin's YouTube channel, Mainly Marathon's website, and Swifty's music-related pages. Well, that's it for this time. Until next time, cheers and take care. Keep running, keep walking, keep documenting for YouTube, keep pushing the limits. You will be surprised by what you can do, whether it's a 5K, half marathon, an ultra marathon, or Big's Backyard. Whatever your adventure, you will get there. You will cross that finish line.